I've never really wanted to grow up, and I want to remind people not to do that either in some
Mhm.
senses, because we take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
And I think that's woven into everything I've done.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Book Leads, Impactful Books for Life and Leadership. I'm your series host and leadership performance coach, John Jaramillo. This podcast series is about getting to the books that have impacted the lives of the people in my network. So these are great leads that I'll be having these conversations with to get to those books that have really made an impact on their work, whether they're the author of the book covered or it's a book that they've written by somebody else. I really want to get to the message of the book. What is it that stood out? How that's impacted their life, their business, their work, all those worlds intersect. And my guest today is Jill Salzman. And Jill is a business and personal coach who helps clients make more money. Through defying expectations and breaking the rules, she succeeds in inspiring entrepreneurs to figure out what works for them by using meaningful action to create positive results. She's the author of the best business book in the world, according to my mom, founded a field guide for mom entrepreneurs, and her third book, The Big Butt Book, a graphic novel about the detours that shape us, and that was released in January of 2026, just very recently. She shared the speaker stage with Richard Branson, Sheryl Sandberg, Damon John, Mary Lou Henner, and Desmond Tutu, among others, and professed her love of Eddie Vedder in her TEDx talk on 11/11/11, which she and I talked about back and forth because I'm an Eddie fanboy. CNN Money calls her a mogul, and MSN Live says she's a cool entrepreneur we love. Forbes rated her a top 100 champion small business influencer and voted her third business, The Founding Moms, one of the top 10 websites for entrepreneurs. When she's not speaking to audiences in patterned leggings or podcasting from her basement, she fruitlessly tries to convince her daughters that cassette tapes actually existed. I wish I had one to show my kids, Jill. I wish they would now
You didn't
the
save one?
the instant access they have to everything. They would
It's
not.
crazy.
Some of the stories I've told, they don't believe me that I used to sit around most of the afternoon to wait for my favorite music video to play on MTV. Like that was a badge of honor to wait.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would pray to the gods above that they would play my favorite song at that exact moment when I turn it on the TV. Yeah.
And just to give Danielle a shout out, I was introduced to Jill by Danielle Perlin, and I had Danielle on in this series in episode 49, where we covered her chapter in the book Goddess. 22 spiritual women share their stories of healing, growth, and transformation. It's incredible to think that that was July 2023, almost 3 years ago. I also had Danielle on my other series, The Leadership Syllabus, on Mod 4, and her mod was vulnerable storytelling. And obviously, based on her profession as a ghostwriter, writer, her thing is all about really getting the real stories out there. Those are great episodes. Go check those out after you check this one out. And Jill, thank you so much for all the back and forth we've had about Eddie Vedder. You sent me a copy of the book we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah.
And before we recorded, I showed it to you. And I wanted to clarify, listen, the reason it's not that I don't want to open this, but I don't want to open this without knowing how to use everything properly. Because I'm in a house with a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old. If I need these particular pencils for the book, these particular ones, I don't want to lose them. So I wanted to see what that was all about. Thank you for this copy.
My
and
pleasure.
Thank you for being here.
Of course, my pleasure. I appreciate your loyalty in not using the pencils till we talk. Thank you.
That was more just selfishness on my part, not wanting to share with my kids.
I love that
but
for
sure,
you.
I mean, whichever way you see it. So, Jill, before anything, who are you today? I gave the bio, great recognition you've gotten, putting out a few books as well. So what's the work like? What does your day-to-day look like today with the work that you're doing, the speaking, writing? What's your typical week look like? Just to get a sense of who the person that's sharing their book with us, what they're all about today.
I wish I could tell you what a typical week looks like. And if you live that life, I would love to know how you're doing it, because I have no typical life. Some weeks it's writing, some weeks it's coaching, some weeks I am wishing I was on vacation. So it's very varied. I still have kids in the house, and I love everything that I do. I am not one of these folks that is burned out and overwhelmed. And in fact, that's kind of sort of a peek into the book because I don't really do that anymore. So my real answer to you is I'm living a very slowed down life relative to everything that you read in the bio. I'm exhausted by my own bio. But I left that and I have now moved into a space where I take a lot more time with everything that I do.
That's always great. It's always amazing how, you have that work ethic, you do all these things you're trying to experiment with, and you get to a point where you kind of earn your stripes and you can step back and you can slow down and then kind of really hit your stride and focus specifically on what you want. That's one of the best things I've realized in professionalism, in business, in career, in life is just that frenetic pace you have at first is kind of just trying to find out what your lane is. And then when you get there, there's a little more peace to it.
I love that you say that. I feel like you get to say that with a lot of hindsight because I worked so hard. I kept waiting for somebody to come to me and say, now's your time to slow it on down. And
Yeah.
nobody did. And so I went way too far. The dial sort of went all the way to the other side. And I had to sort of to go through burnout, frankly, which I used to love to hide from admitting. But I love the other side of it. And with a lot of hindsight, am I more focused? I don't know. But I am definitely not packing the calendar like I did. I'm not flying around the world speaking anymore. And I'm really loving where I
And
am.
when I say focused, I don't mean like sitting down and like focusing on one thing. I guess I
Yeah.
just mean the general direction.
Oh,
When you know what your lane
absolutely.
is, what you're good at,
Yeah.
when you get to that level of confidence, you don't have that l- level of insecurity, that level of imposter syndrome, right? That could still exist there, but there's a
Yeah.
little more peace of mind. I've learned the major currency that has really satiated me is just peace of mind, peace of heart.
Mm,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? So
I
that
do.
allows you to kind of breathe and really stretch out in the lane that's yours.
I'm dying to know what gives you peace of mind.
I have no idea. I'm still looking for it. And
Oh,
it
oh,
it differs from day to day, if you will.
okay.
It's just for me, peace of mind is being able to get whatever I need out of my system in that particular day out of my system.
Mm,
It could be emotional, it could be spiritual, it could be intellectually. It's all these different things. At its core, it's my family. As long as I know that they're taken care of and safe, that gives me peace of mind. And then beyond that, it's like, okay, what do I want to design for myself?
mm. I love that. Yeah, same here. Same here. I think we're all searching for it all the time. It's just
Yeah.
really, really hard to navigate through all that's thrown at us all day, every day. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, this kind of confidence you see now, this knowing where we are, like you said, hindsight, that's what it is. But
Oh, I would not,
anyone
I
out
would
there
not
can
even
picture
know
me
without
all
you saying it that
frenetic.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do look at the first chapter of my work career as sort of the trial and error years. And then moving out of it, realizing that's not working for me anymore because I'm losing my mind. And moving into, I just want to slow down. I want to pick a focus and I'm going to do things right this time because you know from the first chapter what's not working.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like you can't, again, yeah, just a reminder to anybody that's younger in their career, in their path, in their life path, they got to earn their stripes. They got to go through that stress. There's no way to take it away from them, but know
Yeah.
that there is worth in those kind of things. So it's great that people are coming up now where you're aware of burnout. We can talk about
Mhm.
burnout. We can talk about mental health so that as they're going through that process, they don't feel completely alone. They can speak about those things and utilize that energy that they'd be kind of trying to hide the burnout.
Yeah.
They can speak about the burnout and use that energy for something else.
Yeah. And I wish there was a one line response I had for you about how I figured it out for myself. But I feel like everybody's on a completely different path, and some people last a lot longer than the
Yeah.
rest of us. Yeah.
Amen. Jill, to understand how you ended up here, what does your path to now look like? Usually I like to start around leaving high school, entering the workforce, or entering education, where you really started building the foundation of your career, your business, whatever it may be. What did that look like to now?
I'm going to say I'll start with post-college because I have a degree in biology, and it's nothing I've ever done anything with. But I left college and decided to go work in the music business. I was going to be a music business chick. I worked at a major record label, and talk about burnout. I don't think until I've just spoken to you now, I've realized how much burnout I've experienced in my life. I spent all of 2 years working in New York City, going to 5 shows a night, 7 nights a week. And I had to leave New York. It was also a time where 9/11 hit New York. So I thought, I'm not staying here.
Yeah,
I'm going to
I was
go
there too.
hide in grad school. Oh, okay. Yeah, so you get it.
Yeah.
So I went to LA. I enrolled in law school. And I knew, I think first semester in, I'm not going to be a lawyer working at a big firm. So
What
upon
was it? What was it
graduating from law
specifically that
school,
stood out?
I think I understood the energy of the folks that were attending. I knew it would be a lot of focused sitting and a lot of paperwork, which I frankly loved. But I knew that I needed focused sitting, paperwork, and there's not a lot of room for creativity. You can get very creative in terms of arguing a case, but it wasn't the kind of creativity I was looking for.
So if you went from music, you wanted to be in the industry, you were in New York, so many shows a night, what was the turning point that said, again, there was 9/11, you were kind of maybe burned out from the music scene, you wanted to change, but then what was it that kind of guided you, especially somebody coming from biology? What was it that made you turn to try within law? What made you turn that way?
I had a boyfriend who was also going to law school. Is it a sad answer? I don't know, but
not at all.
He was headed off to law school.
It all led here.
It did. And I knew I would find it fascinating. And to be perfectly honest, it was the most fascinating schooling I've ever been through. I loved it. I just knew I didn't want to practice.
What was it about it that was so fascinating? Especially as somebody that's obviously a creative, went to school for biology, and now in law is saying it's the most fascinating. What was it about it that really...
I came out of the experience thinking every single human being that exists in a community in the world needs to go to law school. I mean, you learn how to read contracts, which you're going to sign for the rest of your life in all kinds of areas. You're going to learn what legal arguments are and how to sort of get practical and analytical about one side, and then you're forced to examine it from the other. It's sort of, to me, like a lot of humanity and human skills compacted into a lot of very old language that is very boring to read. But I loved the thinking around it. I loved the logic of it, and I highly recommend it. I don't recommend gathering all of the student debt that I have gathered. That's the part that I would skip.
Yeah. Okay, so after law school?
And I do want to make the point that I did apply to the #1 music law school in the country. So I went to continue music stuff.
Okay.
And I got there and I realized, not for me. So I graduated and I thought I was going to go back into the world I knew. I moved to Chicago and I decided to launch my very first business managing bands. So I went to Google and I asked anybody that was local, are you interested in going on tour, getting your publicity done? I, to be frank, really regret the things that I tried to do for my first clients. I had no idea what I was doing, but I thought that I would know because I worked at a label. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, can you share some examples of things that you thought you knew you were doing right or that you got wrong?
It's all the basics, I guess, of anyone starting a business where I didn't really understand marketing. I was happy to go door to door handing out flyers, walking into venues and saying, would you please book my band? And that's not really how it's done. I mean, every mistake in the book I made. And am I sorry? Have I apologized to those clients? No, but I eventually learned what to do. And I spent 6 years running a music management company. And I started with local musicians. Then I moved to regional. Then I moved to national. I learned a lot about booking. I learned a lot about PR. And about 2 years into running that business, I also realized when all of your bands go into the studio at the same time, you're not making any money. So I launched a second business, wholly
Of course.
unrelated, of course. And I imported sterling silver anklets, and I started to sell baby jewelry because I thought it might be a neat thing to do. And so it was my entree into product-based businesses where I was only familiar with service-based businesses. And then I was doing both of these businesses at exactly the same time. And I want to say 5 or 6 years into running both of them, I got pregnant with my second baby. And I
At what point did
panicked.
at what point in that part of your path did you have the first baby? What were you doing at that time?
With every baby I had, I started a new business. So I was managing bands. And by the time my firstborn was born, I launched my second business, and she was sort of the mascot in all the photos to promote my baby jewelry. And then 2 and some years later, when I was pregnant, I thought, how the heck do you run 2 businesses with 2 babies? This sounds impossible. But there were no manuals. Every woman I knew was either a corporate woman or a stay-at-home mom. I never knew the folks in between. So I started a meetup on meetup.com, and I said, come and tell me how you're running a business with a baby. And it was very self-serving, and it was supposed to be 1 coffee, John, 1 coffee. And 20 people showed up, and I thought, what? So we agreed to meet up every month for about 6 months, and I realized this is bigger than anything I've ever done. So I shut down my music management company. I sold my baby jewelry business, and I ran the Founding Moms for the next 13 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what did that entail? What did that look like? The Founding Moms.
I invited women in other cities to start running their own meetups. And so in about 4 or 5 years, we were in 30 cities around the world. 6 years in, somebody said, where's your online platform? I said, well, no one does anything online. And then I learned very quickly I was wrong. So we launched a membership portal with over 50 courses, webinars. I mean, you name it, we did that kind of content marketing. So I spent many, many, many years speaking, doing TV appearances, promoting the crap out of my organization. And I wrote 2 books during that time. I was the host of 2 different podcasts at the time. Talk about exhausted. So by the end of my time running the Founding Moms, I realized I no longer want to go wide, sort of spray and pray the things I know. I want to go really deep with folks. And I think I want to lean into one-on-one coaching. I just hate the word coach. So I started to dabble, and that's who I am today.
Wow. So what usually I ask this question as we head into the discussion specifically of the book, but even before that, where along this path what was it that caused you to write these books or pushed you to write these books? At what points did they happen, and then why did you write them?
The first, which was called Found It, a field guide for mom entrepreneurs, I created because I saw other people that were thought leaders and thought they all have a book. I must need a book. And so I wrote a sort of how-to guide, the first half of which is just for folks, men and women, that are entrepreneurs, how to build a business. And the other half was about how to do it with kids in tow. And I really just thought it was the thing I was supposed to have, which is a ridiculous reason, but very honest. And then 6 years later, I had become so well-versed in sending out newsletters. I went from sending one out every other week to sending out a weekly to sending out a daily for several years. So I had a lot of content to work with, and I took the best of and compiled them into my second book, which is called The Best Business Book in the World, according to my mom. And it was supposed to be yet another marketing piece for the Founding Moms. Somebody reads this, they might join the organization. Yeah.
Okay. Jill, so then when it comes to you, what is it that comes through in your work today from your childhood? I'm always curious about how someone's childhood, their inner kid, comes through in the work that they're doing to you. So for you, what does that look like? What ties in from your childhood into, and it doesn't have to be this point in time, this snapshot right now, even throughout your career, what ties into who you were as a kid?
Playfulness. Just being silly. I have a long history of trying to convince people that business does not have to be boring.
Yeah.
And in an effort to get that across, I spent a lot of time in a lot of boas and sunglasses and silly hats and glitter on my webinars, doing speaking gigs, looking the part that I wanted people to experience.
Yeah, it's funny. You set me with every guest. I'm like, just let me know which headshot you want me to use. And you set me this plethora of different playful pictures and told me, just pick one. So I found that fascinating that you just kind of throw out that playfulness even in your headshots.
Yeah, I can't take a serious headshot, to be honest. But I want people to know from the moment that they meet me online that we can have a lot of fun together and this doesn't have to be so serious. So I think to your question, I've never really wanted to grow up, and I want to remind people not to do that either in some senses, because we take ourselves too seriously. And I think that's woven into everything I've done, all my books, everything else around it.
Where did that show up in your childhood? Even though we equate, right, playfulness to childhood, some kids that I've met, they're not very playful. They're just kind of very, very academic, or my mom has me in all these sports, and they're just kind of, it's fascinating to watch. And, no judgment on anybody, but for you, what did your childhood look like? Because again, not every kid is playful when they're a kid. And we say our inner child is playful, but it's not always like that. So what was your thing as a kid?
I really appreciate pointing that out, because I just think, well, my childhood, it was so silly. I was the entertainer. I'm one of 4 daughters, and I was definitely the person who self-tasked with, everybody's got to have a good time. Everybody's got to laugh. So I was the joker in school. I was the silly person, always, forevermore. So I always felt this way. And I think probably part of my work as a kiddo was to bring up the joy in others. And I think, to your point, I had 3 sisters who were not nearly as playful as I was. So I think I somehow intimated, well, everybody needs to join me. And in fact, I am Jill. And when I was really little, I think my mom says I was maybe 3 or 4, I somehow heard, if I'm Jill, everybody else, they're children. And so I always wanted to take everybody with me, because that just made so much sense to me.
Where did you fall in the 4 kids, or 4 daughters, I guess?
First.
Oldest, huh? Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I react that way only because I would have figured the most playful one would have been one of the younger ones. Just my thinking. Just because, like, it's always like the first.
Stereotypically,
or gets it the worst from the parents and gets the most discipline and gets reined in the most. And then after that, parents are like, I'm fucking tired of doing that. Just like, go ham or whatever it may be.
I definitely have a lot of what you just said. Did I get the worst side of the parent stick? I guess so, because I was first and I was the trial kid. But I think I have a ton of drive. I have a ton of a lot of those firstborn qualities. But somehow I attached it to, well, we're not going to even do this. The most serious. We're not even going to go to law school without making it fun.
Did you see that modeled somewhere, like that playfulness? Even though, again, you're a kid. I saw it
modeled. That's a great question. I saw it modeled outside of my home. And I think a lot of the time it was very attractive to me. Like, I want that. I went to a playdate's house when I was very little. And my mom was unbelievably supportive in all of my creative endeavors, but she never sat down with me to play. And I went to this friend's house, and this mom sat down and had high tea with us with our dolls. And I remember as a very, very small person looking at her going, that's what I want to be like. I want to get in there
Mm.
with the kids. I want to be kid-like. I want to have high tea with teddy bears and dolls, even when I'm 30, 40, 50, whatever I thought old was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
25,
It was probably, I was
27.
going to say, it was probably 21. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that is incredible. Again, it's come up in this series before where all it takes is for one person
Yeah.
to model something, say something, ask a certain question, and it sticks with you. The fascinating
Yeah.
part of your story is how young you were and that they weren't even trying to model something for you. They weren't trying to ask you or tell you something. You just saw it in their behavior from a young age. I mean, when kids are playing tea, I mean, that's usually like 3, 4, 5, maybe.
Yeah. Very young. We were so young, and I don't know why I remember that. I think it was just remarkable to me. I mean, my mom, again, had 4 kids. So
Of
was there
course,
time
of
to sit down
course.
and play? No. So I don't want to say I'm faulting her, but I think I did not see that a lot. And it was so attractive to me that I wanted to create that for the forever.
That's incredible. That just
Yeah,
kind of,
thanks.
aside from that, just one interaction or, several interactions, that just from that moment, that woman, it's incredible how much of
Hmm.
a ripple effect that's had in your life and to all the
Absolutely.
people that you've known and all the people that you're coaching and writing to. That's
Yeah.
remarkable.
Yeah. It's who I
So,
am.
I mean, you've spoken a lot of different values that you have or skills or abilities. What do you consider your superpower? I mean, I think I can take a guess,
Mm.
but I want to hear it in your words. What do you
Oh,
consider
I
your
want to hear your
superpower?
guess because I have my answer.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. Okay. Uh, I think, and you know what I want to say? My superpower right now is I am able to talk to someone and hear all of the moving parts in their life and kind of zoom out, get a big picture of what's going on, and help reframe it in a way that is helpful or positive or whatever they need.
Where does that come from? Obviously, there's like
Hmm.
the creative side, there's the analytical side, like the law school, like really looking at what's there
Hmm.
and verbalizing it and calling it out. There's the joy that you want to bring to people, but I guess, yeah, in your words, along the trajectory of your career, where did you really realize that that was your thing to be able to kind of see the big picture, talk to somebody and not just go by what they say, but really take it all in? Is there a moment that stands
I
out where
don't
that's,
know. I feel like this has always been a superpower my entire life. So I don't know where it comes from. I just know that I discovered it slowly but surely as I would have conversations all the way back to high school. And just
yeah.
I could see what the issue was, sort of, I don't want to say how to fix it, but like how to put it together and send someone off in a way where they went, oh my God, I never realized that before. That's been my whole life. So I don't know where that came from. Sorry.
No,
What were
no,
you
no,
going
no,
to say?
no. Like,
Was that exactly what you were going to say?
that was exactly what I was going to say.
I know.
Um, yeah, I think what I would have said just from listening to you is just that the power of joy of introducing
Oh.
joy into somebody's life, reminding people of joy that they can have joy as an adult. Just the playfulness that I saw in your headshots. Um, I think that's what a lot of people are missing these days. I think it goes hand in hand with the way that we fall into burnout is that, it's like that 9 to 5 rat race and we forget the part about being intentional about taking the time to enjoy something, to enjoy life,
Mm.
to see joy in the everyday little moments, to introduce joy and model that for other people. So for me, that's a superpower because you just,
Hmm.
and being able to be happy because of things that happen in your environment and what happens to you, that's great. It's amazing, but that's something different than somebody really being able to introduce or call out or model for you how to look for the joy and that you can create it yourself. You don't have to wait for somebody else. And listen, I don't get it perfect all the time, but I am somebody that tries
Neither
to
do
kind of
I.
introduce it as much as possible, sometimes we're our biggest enemies, but I got it from my dad where he was just always trying to make other people enjoy themselves
Mm.
and laugh, even at his own expense. But I did see in you, my thought was just that ability to find, introduce, and design joy, like to really bring it intentionally into somebody's life, to have them see their own.
I really appreciate that. I don't I don't know if I agree, but I'm going to sit with that. Huh,
That was, again,
love it.
I always say I can take a guess, but I want to
No,
hear it in your
it's
words.
a
But
great guess. I think the difference is that my interest in helping everyone experience or see or feel joy is more work than the superpower I mentioned. And the
yeah,
superpower to me takes no effort. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great distinction. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jill, so before jumping into the book, I'd be remiss if, as a leadership coach, if I didn't ask, what does leadership mean to you? What does great leadership look like?
Mm. The first word that popped into my head, boundaries. Leadership looks like, I always see in my mind a boat where somebody is at the front guiding it. They are the great leader of the journey. Like maybe we can go to, Odysseus back in the tragic Greek tales. But I see somebody that knows where they want to go. They're maybe not even sure that they know how to get there, but they know where they want to go. And they will guide and lead using boundaries and an assurance that they have or they feel they have.
Yeah.
Huh.
Who are the great leaders? You don't need to name names, but who are the great ones that you've seen in your life that maybe helped model that perception, that idea that you have of
Yeah.
leadership?
I want to name pretty much every comedian I've ever seen on Saturday Night Live. And I know folks listening, if they hate Saturday Night Live, I get it. But all of the folks that made that great, the Steve Martins, the Marty Shorts, the Maya Rudolphs, the Amy Pohlers, they're all, Stephen Colbert being the top of my list. There is a fascination I have with that skill set. And I think they lead in a way that is so unique and so hard. I don't know if that's a fair answer because they're not all of them are running their own businesses, but that's what I think of when I think of a leader.
No, but that's great because it's about, leadership. I think anything in leadership, business, work, in any kind of arena like those, it comes down first to who the person is, their curiosity, but also the energy.
Yeah.
The energy,
Yeah.
the insight that they bring. So like comedians like that, it's about energy. It's about insight. It's about communication. So yeah, even though they're not running a business per se, I completely see the relevance and the importance of what they do to what somebody can bring to their leadership.
Right. And they are sort of, I guess I would say, servant leaders, where
Yeah.
their missions are to help include others and get them to laugh or get them to watch or lead in a way that makes everybody feel good. And I think that's sort of, my goal in life is to get to where they are, and not to be a comedian, but to bring joy in a similar way.
Did you ever try comedy?
Never.
Okay. Okay.
No.
What, as somebody who deals in helping people, and we talk about joy and everything that we've covered so far, how do you take care of yourself?
So many ways now, I'm happy to report, because had we met 10 years ago, I would have said, what are you talking about? I don't do any of it.
Yeah.
I'm outside a lot. I do a lot of walking, a lot of biking, a lot of anything I can do outside, I will do. I like to cook. I like to play music. There's a long list that I'm very, very fond of these days because I never permitted myself to do this back in the day. And I love it.
And Jill, I don't know if you spoke about it. I don't know. I don't think I asked about it. You had mentioned burnout. What was the moment that made you realize that the burnout was an issue and kind of made you change your behaviors, your approach, your practices, your self-care? Was there one particular thing, or was it kind of just a series of things that made you head in a different direction of health? What was it that kind of turned you around and made you realize that burnout was an issue?
As you're asking me that, I'm starting to think of the 1,000 things that happened to lead up to my admitting that it was burnout. And I'm trying to put them in a hierarchy of which one went down first. But it was sort of an all at once experience of my health was declining. I literally had no time to go on a 10-minute walk, let alone a longer walk. Uh, it, it, I could feel I had no more mojo. I just I'm somebody that loves what I do when I'm doing it. And I did not love it anymore. And once that hit and I was willing to admit it, I sold that business as fast as I could, as fast as I humanly could. And everybody said to me after 13 years of running it, aren't you sad or don't you miss it? And I think the burnout was so prominent at that point that I said, no, I don't care. I want to move on immediately. And I did. And that was really helpful.
For people that maybe don't think, because burnout is different across people, it looks different,
For
takes
sure.
different forms, right? So for you, what were some of the things that were leading to your burnout? If you could just give some examples so that people kind of keep a lookout for these kind of things.
Yeah. I am still working really hard on sculpting the right schedule for myself. That was a huge problem that I actually work with a lot of clients now on, because calendars seem to run people. People don't really run their calendars. So I was fully on the receiving end of my own calendar and let it dictate where I would be and what I would do. And I had no peace of mind ever at all. So that was a big one for me. And because I think there's a sort of a trickle down effect where then I'm not feeding myself well. I'm ignoring all of the nutrition advice. I'm ignoring sleep. It just all adds up. I also found, and I would say this to anybody that is, I don't want to say getting older, getting wiser, has worked more than 10 years. I started to realize I'm doing the same thing every day. I don't want to be doing the same thing every day. I'm posting my social media posts. I'm writing the newsletter. It became too rote for me, and I needed something new.
Thank you so much. Because I think, again, it affects people differently. It looks different from person to person. So I think if people hear examples of what it might have been for somebody else, they might recognize it in their own journey.
I
Again,
hope so.
yes, we're different, but even just hearing
Yeah.
somebody's story can help. So Jill, now jumping into the book, what was it that put this book on your radar? What led to this particular book being written?
When
The
I
Big Butt
decided
Book.
the Big Butt Book, thank you for saying it. That's one of the reasons I titled it that. I wanted to hear a podcast host say it. I
Now, let me just read the full title, The Big Butt. And
sure.
again, I haven't opened it, so I have to like move the string away. The Big Butt Book, a graphic novel about the detours that shape us.
Yeah.
Love it.
I had, I don't know if this happens with you, John, but when I start something new, I do as much research as possible because I guess I'm a firstborn. So I read every coaching book I could get my hands on, all wildly helpful to launching and running my business, all really helpful in the art of coaching, but they were also serious. And as you now know about me, I thought, where are the coaches writing books who want to have some fun? And so I thought, what better way to do this than to create a graphic novel? And so I found an illustrator to help illustrate the excuses that I hear in my business as to why folks can't move forward. So from the I don't have enough monies to I don't have enough time to I don't have the knowledge yet. Name the thousands of excuses you've heard over time. I took them and I kind of created an amalgamation of different excuses into 5 fictional characters. So in the book, it's 5 characters. You really get to know each of them and what is stopping them from moving forward. What is their big butt? And then they all meet at the end, and I'm not going to tell you what happens. But in creating it, I knew I needed to create a book in black and white because, fun fact about creating a book in color, my last book was in full color. And when I went to upload it to Amazon's KDP portal to publish it, I'm a self-publisher, I learned that the book would be priced at something like $65 because of the color. So I don't know if you know this. Anyway, I had to cut the book in half. We had to do all kinds of crazy things for that book. So I knew this would have to be black and white. And because it's black and white and it's a graphic novel, you can color it in. And I realized it's an adult coloring book. So it's a lot of fun. And that's why you get your colored pencils.
Okay. Now I know. Again,
Now you know.
I didn't want to crack it open without really.
No, I
First, I wanted to
appreciate-
have this conversation with you
Yeah.
before I did it. And I appreciate you sending me the copy. I love it.
Of course.
Jill, so can you go through the other books, just because I want to hear your kind of evolution from those books to this book? You touched upon them before, but I just want to kind of recap where you were in your career when you wrote each book.
Yeah. The first book was the biggest. I don't really know what I'm doing in terms of publishing. I knew I didn't want to go and suss out a publisher because I was an entrepreneur supporting entrepreneurs. That was the whole bent of the organization. So I thought, oh, I have to DIY the book. So I created my own publishing company. I had a then 2-year-old who could not remember how to say I forgot. She would always say I forgot. So my publishing company is called Pigot Press. And I ended up finding a distributor who would work with me, and found it was really, I just wanted the how-to that I was teaching online. I just wanted you to be able to read in very short chapters. Here's something to think about. Here's something to go do. Here's something to think about. I, again, partnered with an illustrator who came up with some fun cartoons. And I thought it was a really great read for the little that I knew about how to publish a book. And I did the most press that I've ever done for a book with my first one. And 6 years later, I just knew I needed something to come out again. It was sort of a feeling combined with, I have all this content, all these newsletters. Why not repurpose them? So I did. And that one I thought it'd be such a great idea to color code it and make it, this color represents this topic and this color represents this topic. And that was such a terrible idea. So, but the idiot part is that I didn't even explore what the problem would be. I didn't know what I didn't know. So when I waited all the way until the editing was done and the layout was done and the whole thing was done. And then we discovered we had to redo. That sucked.
But so I always appreciate people that obviously have to discover it on their own, because then you can kind of tell people, please beware of this when you're going.
Yeah,
there always has to be that one person that goes through it. Yeah,
yes,
slight
I am
silver lining,
that
slight.
One person. Yeah,
and we love you for it, Jill.
We
love
you know
for
what?
it.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Jill, so I'm curious. I always ask the authors that I have on here. Obviously, all of this is your wheelhouse. It's your specialty. It's the work that you're doing now. It's your vision. How did the book coming out, let's go with the Big Butt book, how did that change the way that you saw the material, the way that you saw your work? What evolved in you in the process of putting this book out? Not so much the technical side of putting it together and the publishing, but overall, the general idea. Is there anything that shifted in you because of your writing of this book?
So much shifts with writing any book. I feel like it's really just an exploration of where we are. It's like a snapshot, sort of like an album for a musician. It's a snapshot of where you are in that moment. And when I look back at my first book, the writing style has definitely evolved. It's not the same snapshot. I would say the positives are you really realize what you know and what you don't know when you're writing a book, in my view.
Yeah.
I really didn't realize how many excuses I'm hearing and that I could tie them all together in the ways that I did to create these characters that are in the Big Butt book. But I think there are always questions left open for me. Like I wrote it and I thought, oh my God, this could have 16 more characters. Oh my God, I I could have shifted the storyline at the end in the last chapter and made it something completely different. So it's, you could really kill yourself over the amount of questioning you could do as an author.
Yeah, I always ask, not always, but anytime this kind of thing comes up, it's like, when do you decide to pull the trigger? Or how often do you go back and look at it? Some are like, yeah, I'll go back because I work with clients or I do workshops on it. So there are things that I want to add. Others are like, nope, I wrote it. It's done. It's in the past. I don't want to look at it again because then I'll look at all the things that I could have done differently and I'd rather move forward, maybe do another iteration. So I'm always curious for creatives when they decide something is final and then how they look at it, whether they torture themselves or not because of what they had in there, what they should have done different, whatever it may be. That whole creative process is fascinating.
I'm going to bring burnout back into this part of the conversation because I think I like a draft that's loosey-goosey and I really love editing. So I will go over it and over it and over it and over it until I'm burned out on it and I think it's a good enough sentence. And I really want every sentence to be valuable. So I'll do like a finite torturing is what I will call it. And I think only with this latest book that I have, it was obviously in the books I wrote previously, AI wasn't around yet. So you can really torture yourself with AI because I uploaded one of the chapters in this book and asked it, well, give this a look-see. Tell me what you would edit in here. I didn't like anything that AI suggested. But I mean, if people are really leaning on AI, I can see that going down a very dark and scary path.
Yeah. And if you think about when you were putting this book together to now, just the versions that come out and how exponential its growth is.
Yeah. I'm grateful. And I know with the next book that I write, I will be staying far away from the internet. Yeah.
Next question. What do you think is next for your writing?
When I published this one, I said to myself, I'd like to publish a book a year. But we are far into the year and that's not happening. So I have not a great novel in me. I kind of want to dabble in, I don't know what it's called, business historical fiction. Like kind of look at how businesses have been built and write it. I've enjoyed dabbling in fiction with this book. So I might go that bent. I don't know. I feel every day like I don't know what's next until it lands. It just hits. I just wait for inspo. So I don't have any right now for you. Sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I always feel like I always tell people, listen, I'm not rushing you. This book just came out, but I'm just curious in general, what general direction
I appreciate,
would you head in? When it comes to, the big butt book, how do you deal with that yourself in terms of the butts that maybe you experience, the moments of doubt, things like that in general? What is it that keeps you driving forward? Just because I know, coaches need coaches, therapists need therapists, authors sometimes need to keep on top of themselves for even what they write about and what they share. So you can be the specialist in an area, but obviously still need that reminder to keep pushing forward. So how is it that you keep yourself motivated and maybe fight self-doubt if it should creep in, or imposter syndrome, which we talked about at this point when we hopped on almost an hour ago?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that kind of stuff?
I want to say to you, I don't have any imposter syndrome, and I never experienced self-doubt. You had to ask the question, huh? Well, listen, when you read the book, I will admit, as I believe with all writers, there's a piece of me in every one of the characters I created. That should be no secret to anyone. I tend to motivate myself really just by talking to other people. That's always been my number one motivator. I am very comfortable with sharing every single fear I have. In fact, the second podcast I used to host is called Why Are We Shouting? You can still hear it online. And every episode was just me talking about some huge screw up that I've made in business. So I think my combo of no shame meets the thing that's scaring me that day, that goes so deep, all the way into like, is John going to enjoy this conversation when we are on together? I think there is nothing I haven't experienced, and anybody who's thinking of what really is their growth edge, those are all of mine. I
Yeah.
have all
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
So I don't have one that stands out so much. I really do have no shame. So that's helped with wearing boas and sunglasses on webinars, taking ridiculous headshot photos. But it also comes with another side of it, which is like, am I really pushing everyone away? Because it's not for everybody. I am not for everybody.
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, you don't want to compromise what you need to achieve your own minimal joy or joy in general. You don't want to compromise that. So it's almost, I feel like it's always a balancing act of putting out there who you really are with, okay,
Yeah.
How much are they or aren't they ready for what they're going to see kind of thing. I get that.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
Jill, obviously we're here talking about your book. What book has inspired you? If you came on,
There are
back
so
on, and you're always welcome
many.
to come back on, what book would you share where it's like, this is the book that it just hit me different and really changed my thinking?
Yeah, I have been pretty obsessed for the past year or two with a book called Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara.
Yeah, it's up here somewhere.
So good that I, in fact, went to his conference in New York last year.
Did you really?
Just to fawn over.
Yeah.
I think it's the best business book I might have ever read, and I'm sorry I didn't write it.
Yeah.
But it's so specific, and it's really for restaurateurs and all of that. So I think a lot of people know the book now, but when it came out, it blew me away.
How do you think you might have changed, or what things did you change in your toolbox of skills and interactions and communication after reading that book?
I have really tried to be as unreasonable as humanly possible when it comes to service.
Yeah.
So I've really taken to sending gifts to people or sending books to people or being so much more thoughtful in my intention around connecting with people. Yeah, he cracked that wide open. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible how certain authors, they can just kind of open up what we thought we knew and just put a voice to it, a face to it, an experience to it. Like I always tended to think that way. Like, I want to make people's experience cool. But then when you see like what he does in the restaurants, what he considers, what he asks, what he listens for, I'm like, I haven't done shit for anybody.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if you remember the part of the book where he talks about how he eventually hired a person to stand near the blinds in the restaurant, and anytime the sun moved, he'd have them like tweak the blinds a little bit, and that was their whole job. I thought, like, this is insane. I will never do that. But that's the level of insanity I now desire to have, even though it could look real OCD to some people.
Yeah. I forget that specific part, but I remember examples of, somebody listening, paying attention to what the people eating or saying or talking about, and hearing, I'm sorry that I missed this experience or didn't have this experience. And then they're like, all right, run out and go get this, because this is what they wanted to experience.
Yes.
And just things like that, going above and beyond. I highly recommend everybody read that book. Even if you're you don't have to be in the restaurant business. You don't have to be a restaurateur.
Nope.
Nothing of that.
You don't.
It's all about like really what you want your customers, your customers, your clients, your friends, your family, like just little things like that, little tweaks that you can make in their experiences. So great example.
Yeah.
Jill, in wrapping up, what are you up to these days? What do you want to share that maybe I didn't ask about or we didn't have a chance to talk about? Is there anything you want to put out there? The floor is yours.
I appreciate that. I clearly love talking to people. So I just want to put out there, if anybody needs to have a conversation with somebody who loves people, reach out to me. I'm at jillsalzman.com. I do want to make a point about the fact that you have not brought Eddie Vedder up for an entire hour. And I am sorry you have not. That's all. I'm just leaving with a complaint. Sorry.
No. Oh, yeah. That's fine. That's a great complaint. Because as I said that, I'm like, oh my God, we didn't talk about Eddie.
About Eddie Vedder.
But then I was like, this is the way my mind thinks. If I bring it up, maybe she'll say, oh yeah, like in my TED Talk. And I'm like, fuck, I haven't gotten to the TED Talk yet.
Oh my God.
But
you're
then
hilarious.
if I ask her about the TED Talk, she's going to be upset that I didn't ask about the TED. Literally in the last minute, that's what's been going in my head.
That's too much work, John.
You brought this up. So let's talk about Eddie.
Well, I just love that my story about attempting to meet Eddie Vedder, which is a long, convoluted story that is in my TED Talk that you can see at jillsalzman.com. Not the point. I usually have to say to people like you who are super fans, it's a little bit of an uh-oh for me when I meet people like you, because I really was obsessed in trying to get to Eddie Vedder that night that all of those things happened, because a boy that I had a big crush on was obsessed with Eddie Vedder. I wasn't even a huge fan. But it's been my story my whole long life. I mean, I love a couple of his tunes, but really I did a lot of that magical night back then, because I really wanted the boy that I had a crush on to like me back, and he never did. So,
hey, everything. Okay. I'm one of those people that says the cliche, everything happens for a reason.
Oh, everything. I think that evening that I broke in to the induction ceremony for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame completely changed my life, got me rolling on entrepreneurship and working in the music business, all of it. That started me on everything. So I regret it not for 1 second, but I love that you're a true Eddie Vedder fan.
Oh yeah. I sent you a picture of my daughter holding this up.
Yes.
This was,
I loved it.
My best friend got this for me, for one of my birthdays a couple years ago.
Oh, awesome.
And this is like the Eddie that I kind of fawned over as a kid. I'm like, just his energy, the songs, just rock and roll. It was just a different energy. I was obsessed as a kid. My mom, man, my mom speaks broken English, but she obviously music, and I would have a guitar or I'd have a bass, and I was just always playing those opening riffs from like Even Flow.
Yes.
She hears it now and she's like, oh my God, this is from like, don't say it. Don't say that it was 35 years ago or whatever. Yeah.
No, don't say years. It. How many concerts have you been to?
Probably not as many as you. I think maybe 5.
I will tell you, I have been to 0 Pearl Jam concerts. Because the one time that I scalped some tickets in New York City and walked over to MSG to go see them, I got to watch the person collecting the tickets just rip it up because it was a fake ticket that I had paid $100-some for. And this was decades ago. Yeah. So after that, I still have not seen him in concert.
Yeah, I think you have to if you get a chance. It's incredible. Yeah. We could talk about Eddie all day. I'm glad we brought him up.
All day.
Again, we talked
about me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We talked about the importance of energy, obviously as it applied to comedy and leadership, but just the energy of music that applies for me too. I mean, you put on a certain song in the day to start the day, or a workout or a walkout song, whatever it may be. No, I'm glad we could talk about that. And I promise, after I end this conversation today, I will look up your TEDx talk to see what the deal was. Oh, you're
very sweet. Yeah, you got to hear the whole story. It's a fun one. It's a fun one.
I promise. Yeah. And again, Jill shared her latest book, The Big Butt Book, a graphic novel about the detours that shape us. Jill, thank you so much for sitting down for this conversation.
This was an amazing, powerful conversation. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you. And if there's anything I might have missed, please let me know. There's so much to cover, limited time. Anything you want to know that I might not have asked, let me know, and I'll reach out to Jill, see what kind of insights, guidance, knowledge, wisdom I can get back. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.